It was when he was 60 and 70.
There is some possibility of that, yeah. Jimmy, of course, sitting here, resplendent in pink, has known Eddie slightly longer than me. Probably for, well, approaching 60 years. But I can say exactly and precisely the first time I met Eddie. There was a strike taking place in Plymouth in a factory called Fine Tubes. It was a very long and very bitter strike, and the strike committee called a day of mass protest, a mass picket and a demonstration, followed by a large mass meeting. And we took a coach load, over 50 dockers, from the Royal Group of Docks, marching behind that very banner that's over there. 50 of us travelled down overnight to go to the picket, to take part in the march, and then to attend the meeting. Late in the afternoon, we began to make our way back to London, and I found myself sitting next to Eddie. I'd heard about him before. The name of Bootsy was really quite legendary in the Royal Docks, and so I had some sense of what to expect, but in a way not really. And Eddie began to talk to me. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I do.
Eddie began to talk to me as we left Plymouth. Yeah? And he began to explain to me in some detail the iniquities and contradictions of international capitalism, the absolute immediate necessity to replace it with workers' power. It had been a long day, and I fell asleep. But just as we approached the M25, I woke up, and guess what? Eddie was still talking about capitalism, and I had to replace it with something better. And you know, I genuinely don't think he realised I've been asleep for 4 or 5 hours. But when I look around, there are quite a few people here who don't have the enormous advantage of being old. And so some of the terms I've already used probably strike you as slightly odd. Terms like strike, terms like picket, terms like solidarity, terms like the working class, those kind of things, that kind of political ideology, political stance was in so many respects first attacked and then effectively eradicated when the Labour government of James Callaghan introduced neo-capitalism into this country and ultimately to dominate the world. Now, you'll possibly be quite pleased that I'm not going to tell you exactly what neo-capitalism amounts to explain the economics of it, and that's because Eddie would like to. And I'm fairly sure if you formed an orderly queue and promised not to fall asleep, he will do that during the rest of the afternoon. Now, when I've told that story before, I've told it for the lulz. I've told it to get a laugh, and I think it did. But when I was thinking about it, when I was trying to get some ideas together for this speech, I realised that every single part of that story actually reminded me of precisely why I've admired Eddie for the last 53 years and why we've been such close friends during all that time. You see, neoliberalism hasn't just had the effect of making the rich enormously more wealthy, beyond obscenely wealthy. It's also affected the very way in which we understand the world, relate to the world, in fact, the way in which we understand ourselves. And when I think back to that day in the coach, when I think back to the many innumerable conversations I've had with Eddie, for me, the absolute single message that comes from that is that Eddie